All right, let's talk some Philadelphia Eagles. I'm interested in this team. Obviously, they made a clear effort to say, let's rebuild. We don't have a lot of cap space. This was, last offseason. Let's trade away Carson Wentz. Let's try to acquire some draft picks. They traded back in the draft to get some more draft picks. Still ended up with a good player in Devonta Smith. So the rebuild is starting to work pretty well, and now is really where you hope that you can make it pay off. This is the first offseason where, last year it was kind of like, let's set ourselves up so we can get better in the future. Now it's like, no, let's get better. We made the playoffs last year. Let's see what we can do. They have 3 first-round picks, the 15th, 16th, and 19th overall picks, and actually the 19th one is their pick. So the 2 picks they got ended up being higher picks than their own pick, which is kind of crazy. So they got tools. Let's first talk about how much cap space they have and who they have to potentially re-sign. So here's their cap situation. It's not bad whatsoever. I mean, the cap space they have, $21 million, and these are, they really only have a few key free agents they really need to sign. These are PFF's projections for how many millions of dollars they'll make in free agency. So, 4 key guys here. So they would need $26 million if they wanted to re-sign everybody, which would mean they'd have to clear $5 million, which is basically nothing. So, teams clear $5 million. They find that in between their cushions in the couch, right? You can clear $5 million. No problems. So the first guy on this list, Steven Nelson, solid corner. There's actually a decent amount of corners available. So if you do lose him, you're going to have to replace him with somebody. So you'd probably like to keep him. I mean, you have Vontae Maddox, you have Darius Slay. But again, you could start to have some concerns about Slay's age if you want to. He is 31. Didn't look great his past couple years in Detroit, but also part of that was, just the Matt Patricia of it all. Looked good last year. So that's kind of the thing, is you hope that he can continue to play well. You hope Maddox can continue to play well. And might as well keep Nelson, because you really do need 3 corners. And for $7 million, that's not a heavy price tag. I'd probably make sure I keep him. The Derek Barnett one is interesting. I feel like for $13 million, I just don't know if his production really matches that price tag, quite frankly. I don't know if I would feel great about spending, that much for him. He's a solid starter. Like, he's not a bad player. You'd like to keep him. More of a run defender than a pass rush guy, but, he's a starting caliber edge rusher. I just think for $13 million, that might be a bit high for that price tag, personally. But again, I wouldn't hate it if they signed him. He certainly adds value. And then guys like Anthony Harris and Rodney McLeod, who won't necessarily be guys who would break the bank, but again, guys who, if you let them walk, okay, well, now who's going to play safety for you? I guess Marcus Epps, but you probably need to at least sign one of those as well. So maybe they can let the other one walk. I don't know. And as for the players they could cut, they don't really have anybody. There's not a lot of options on this. I put Gardner Minshew as my only option, and I don't see why you would do that. He's a quality backup, and on a pretty cheap tag, saving $2.5 million to get rid of a good backup. I don't know if I make that decision. I probably just keep him and take that, especially one, like, let's be honest, Jalen Hurts, he's a quarterback who runs, which means there's a chance he could get banged up. That's possible. And well, I like Hurts. I think Hurts is like a solid starting quarterback. There is some questions about what his ceiling are. Granted, you could say the same about Minshew, but I think with at least this, it gives you some more flexibility and gives you kind of a guy who, if he has to come in and play 3 games, he can do it. And over here now, so this is where they ranked in terms of PFF grades for each positional category. Always very important too when we're talking about where does a team go from here. Well, first we have to talk about, well, where were they last year? What can they improve upon? So the passing attack, maybe not the best. PFF wasn't crazy about Hurts. It wasn't like down on him either. He's kind of just like that mediocre quarterback range, which I think is fair. Like, I think that's where I would have him as well. I'd have him a little bit higher than 19. But again, this isn't necessarily where he ranked personally. It's where the quarterback play as a whole ranked. He actually ranked 14th out of the 37 eligible quarterbacks. The offensive line was very good this year, and the receiving core was much improved than it was the year before it. So that's kind of the, those are the things you build around. Like, I thought for sure, like, the first thing was, like, Devonta Smith added so much to that receiving core. He really did. Getting him, like, it makes Quez Watkins now, he can just do what he does well. He doesn't have to be this, like, star player. You don't need Jalen Reagor to be a star player. He can be a number 3. So I think they could still maybe use another guy in that room. Like, again, 14th best. We're not talking 4th best here, but it at least does help you and makes things a little bit better for you. So I think getting another guy in the room would certainly be a piece there. They could certainly draft one with their many draft picks. I wouldn't hate that decision at all. And the running game was very good. Part of that is what Jalen Hurts brings to the table. He's a very good runner of the football, so that's a clear asset that he has. Even if you don't feel like he's a star just like actually passing it, he still adds value in other ways, which is kind of what makes the Philadelphia Eagles a quality team. So they made the playoffs last year for a reason. You can say whatever you want about the 7 seed, but they were still they were a solid team. Run defense is an area they could improve. Pass rush, not really. Pass rush was good last year. I mean, the Eagles seemingly have always had a good pass rush at least these past few years. So that's something that, maybe you do let a Derek Barnett go because you feel like you have other guys who can rush the passer. And I think the edge rushers kind of are almost less important in that. It seems like it's a lot of like having Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox in the interior kind of really cause that to have the success it does. And then which I've always been a believer in, like the interior defensive pressure can create pass rush really well. And you saw it with Philadelphia. The coverage, they say there's areas of improvement. I get it, but I don't think it's terrible. I think if you keep Nelson, I think that's fine. But again, that's just where they rank up in all of those positions. So yeah, what do you do if you're the Philadelphia Eagles at this point? It's kind of in a weird spot where you don't have too many clear holes, I don't think. And to be clear, I haven't scouted the whole draft yet. I've started to scout a few quarterbacks. That's all I've gotten. So I don't know who exactly there is there that you would want. But again, with those kind of 3 mid-round, first-round picks, maybe you do go after a wide receiver who can kind of be that number 2 option. Maybe you draft a couple wide receivers and just say, let's try to make this offense great. It is a passing league. Let's make sure our passing can be better because, there was kind of a bit of a separation issue in that Tampa Bay playoff game. When you're in the playoffs, you're going to play some good defenses. You're going to have guys who can get open. So, more than just one guy who can get open because teams can shut down one guy. When you have teams that have good second and third corners, well, then what you have to do is have good second and third receivers. That's kind of the mindset. So that's certainly something you could do is, make that decision or just quite frankly, to some degree, just go after guys that you feel like are good. You don't really need that much. Maybe a linebacker could be another area that they attack, but maybe just sit here and say, hey, if you're good, we'll draft you. With the exception of the offensive line, basically you have luxury picks here, so just kind of go after, okay, you could make our run defense better, we'll take you. You could make our receiving core better, we'll take you. Whatever they feel like can help their team, get some star players. That might be the move here. I think it makes sense. So that's what I would do if I was the Eagles. Just kind of draft best player available, build through the draft, maybe, again, kind of use free agency as really the way you probably should use it, which is kind of just get some depth in certain areas. That's kind of the way I would probably use it. I think the Eagles are in a good spot. I think the Eagles have done a lot of good work. Let's see, and there is still the Jalen Hurts question. How confident do you feel about Hurts? I feel like Hurts at least has a high floor. I think Hurts is a solid player. I liked Hurts out of college, and he's kind of met my expectations. So that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.